Councilmember Bach.
Here.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Martirana.
Here.
Vice Mayor Ed.
Here.
And Mayor Lynn is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to public comment on items not on the agenda. So if you're here to address any of the items on the agenda, wait until that item comes up. But if you want to talk about something that's not on the agenda, now would be the time. We do need to have you get a speaker card at the back and fill that out with your name. Seeing nobody rise, we'll move on. Let's go to consent items. Does anybody want to discuss any of these separately?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we need a roll call on that?
Yeah.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed.
Aye.
Mayor Lynn is absent. All members of the council being present except Mayor Lynn. The motion is stated by the speaker passes 4-0-0-1.
Okay, we go to item 4, presentations, informational items, and reports. The first item is the monthly financial statement and treasurer's report. Is Chuck going to be here tonight?
No, Chuck is not going to be here tonight. No.
Do you want to give us a report,
Yeah,
Roger? Okay, great.
Basically, as you can see in our financial report,
You didn't miss much.
the admin
Just started, yeah.
Try to call, nobody answers.
I know, we finally shut it off.
We saw
the
it was
admin
you.
of our conservation program in the water, our revenues to the enterprise fund particularly is down. However, as you can see in our expenditures of the revenue, we've kind of right on deferring any major expenditures in both the sewer and water so that we can keep the balance of our reduced revenues in balance with our expenditures.
We're on treasurer's report 4A.
The general fund expenditures were down by 92, but then our change in our fund balance was negative 32. And our enterprise fund revenues were lower than $13,000, but our expenses were lower by $28,000. So I'm trying to balance that off by deferring a lot of expenditures and needless purchases at this early stage so we get over the hump. But by and large, our revenues are still holding strong. And just as a follow-up, I handed you out the Standards & Poor, and they critiqued us on all of our revenue for the last three and a half years. And they were very favorable, and they gave us a B- rating in our Standards & Poor, and that was very beneficial to us. We're out
don't think I saw
now
that.
receiving bids on our refinancing of the $10 million.
Well, good. Quick question, Roger, before we get to the warrants. Do you foresee any change in the income once winter hits and we have the rainfall, or do you still see the water usage being the same and
The
income
water
being
usage
low?
will be the same. Generally,
same.
during the winter, we'll see a reduction in water usage just because people don't normally irrigate their lawns and everything. Right now, we're down about 25% in terms of revenue as well as usage and stuff like that. And we'll probably see somewhat of a reduced effort during the winter seasons of December, January, and February. Then it starts to pick up.
Okay.
And that's why we've been curtailing a lot of the expenditures to get over this winter season and then get into February and March.
Warrant sheet.
It's
16 of 16.
You want to use mine? I had a bunch underlined.
It's probably the same ones I had.
And I don't know if you've seen, but there's a lot of what we call refunds. You'll see a lot of $700 in refunds. And this goes back to later on in the agenda we're going to talk about, where people are renting a hall, and then at the last minute they pull a pin, and now we're we're scrambling to try to get somebody to rent it, and it's costing us money in the long run. That's why we're addressing that at the end of this agenda here and stuff like that. But the total refunds are over $4,000. $4,004. So of the $156,000, the refund, and then we have some double payments that we had to for Bracewell, and then a reimbursement from some environmental companies that we had to reimbursement. So the total of about $26,000 goes back to funds that are not coming out of our pocket. Just back on. Yeah.
Your microphone is not on.
So that gives you probably a net of about $130,000 of payment. Theoretically, that's the true value of what you're going to be paying out.
Can I ask about some of the warrants?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the warrants, Roger,
Yeah.
U.S. Bank for 218508,
U.S. Bank.
first page,
It
toward
has a city credit card.
city credit card, okay.
Mhm.
Health benefit, we still have the, what is it, AWCA, huh?
Mhm.
Is that going to change? Did you find a better alternative?
Yeah, still in comparison. Actually,
okay.
in the works for two right now, two different
Okay.
companies.
Okay. And in City of Hollister is the fire service?
That is correct. Mhm.
And Ferguson Enterprises, 4745?
Yes, yeah. We've
Plumbing? Plumbing?
Plumbing?
Part of that is going to be refunded there. We've purchased the piping for an extension on San Antone. The contractor is going to install it and then reimburse us back the thing. We wanted it because we wanted to, it's a 2-inch line, and we wanted to upgrade it to an 8-inch line. And then we're connecting to 6th and San Antone with a complex of all new valves. And so the contractor is going to be paying for that. But it was up to obligation to get it and then get it ready so we can install it.
So the project up there at 7th and San Antonio is paying for
It
this?
is paying for that, yeah.
JPM Mechanical, 1275?
Yeah. We had a retired mechanic that came in that used to do miscellaneous stuff when our automobiles and pickups needed and everything. He's kind of retired because he's had some heart problems. So we relocated another kid, and so we brought him in, and the street sweeper had some significant problems, and he spent a good $800 just repairing that thing and getting it running. So it's on board now.
It's good. Nice to have that thing back in
Yes.
service.
Yeah, yes.
And then Olberding Environmental?
That's the reimbursable for contracts. Most development companies cannot do their environmental review themselves and then submit it, so we have to act as their host, and then we pay it. And so all of the reports come through the city for that and then go through, and then what we do is enter reimbursable agreements with that developer, and then they pay for it.
Oh, okay.
So those are the reimbursable accounts that I was talking about.
Okay. I guess that was it. That's the big ones.
And the only other big item there was a double payment to Bracewell. For the last it didn't get paid the previous month, and then it came 2 payments in 1 month.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions on the warrants? No?
Okay, of course, I signed it.
Alrighty. So we'll go from financial statements to the sheriff's report, monthly activity. Do we have anything on that?
Yeah, nothing was submitted.
All right.
This is 4 months, 3 months?
Yeah, this
that
is
we haven't had
ongoing.
anyone or any written report.
Yeah,
This is becoming a problem.
Let's hold
my
their check. See if they get a report then. Okay.
However,
so
I will say they've been active in traffic citations around town, and yesterday morning we stopped a big 18-wheeler in the riot act and issued a citation.
Oh, good.
Did you see my wife
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to stop the 18-wheeler?
Yeah. I pulled in front of him, and then the sheriff came from the back, and so
That's not one you
we
want to
did
see
the
go to battle.
pincer move on him.
Good, good.
Pity.
Let's, I'd like to see staff, let's see if we can get those reports,
Okay.
and at least show it quarterly. We're usually going for a couple hours here, so if there's kind of a window he can come in and talk to us, he would appreciate it.
Okay.
There's probably some comments and questions from the audience too that would probably like to be answered.
The deputies generally come in and touch base with me on a regular basis.
Good. Okay. And we have a speaker card for this.
Speaker card from Richard Thompson.
Okay.
Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street. I do have to say the Sheriff's Department has done a pretty good job. Seems to be more police presence in San Juan, which is great. We do have a little problem though with being that our bakery is so popular now. A lot of people are going to the bakery and they're pulling up right from the bakery going the wrong way. And I've seen 3 of them already. And I've told 2 of them that you're not supposed to do that. Do it elsewhere. And they kind of give me a bad time. They say, well, we're just in a hurry. We'll be in and out. And I says, if everybody was in a hurry and didn't stop in stop signs, we'd have a problem. And they kind of didn't like it. But I think it's a situation now where monkey see, monkey do, because it's happening quite often.
All right.
That's
Thank
at
you.
the bakery?
Right in front of the bakery. They're in a hurry, they leave the door open, they run in, there's 2 or 3 people already waiting, so they're there for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then when they leave, they gotta cross traffic. So it's kind of unsafe.
Well, we'll
Well,
take
Roger,
a look at
since,
that.
I
Yes.
know our
Roger,
bakery
since
is
you
very
get to see it
popular.
more than we do,
Mhm,
we'll
yeah.
have you pass that information on.
I have another speaker card.
Okay.
Jolene Cosio.
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. I just wanted to mention to you, Roger, and I don't know if there's anything that we can do as far as when Sheriff LaMonica had the position that Eric Taylor has now, he was getting us the written reports. And I know Eric Taylor's a very active sheriff, and maybe he's just not real good with reports. And maybe the next time you talk to Darren Thompson, you might ask him if Sheriff LaMonica would have time to take that up, because that's pretty much an administrative,
Yeah.
and he's more
That's a good point.
administrative
Mhm.
now, and I don't think it's in his duties currently, but I just wonder if maybe that wouldn't be one way to get those reports, because they are important to have. We used to use them at the Neighborhood Watch. They were very handy for you guys to know what's going on. And I also want to ask, we've got some loose dogs in our neighborhood, and I realize we don't have animal control, so I haven't really done anything about it. It's a situation I would have definitely called a dog catcher by now if we had one, but I hesitate to call the sheriff. I guess I can put in a complaint to the city because we do have a leash law. But I just wonder if you have any suggestions, or if you are, I know when I was on council, we talked several times about trying to get something going with the city of Hollister for animal control, and I just wonder if that's ever gone anywhere.
We're still working on it. We haven't got anything definite, but we've put some matching funds in the budget, and so it's an ongoing process. We'll continue to work on that. That's good to know. And has the dogs primarily been up in your area or other
Yeah.
places? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, primarily, it's a pair of German Shepherds, and I'll tell you what, I've never been afraid of dogs in my life, but I'm afraid of that pair.
Mhm.
That when there was one, it wasn't such a problem. 2 is a big problem.
Thank you. Any more speaker cards? Any more for Sheriff's report? Okay, we'll move along to Fire Chief's report.
You got it somewhere.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. So November 17th, as of this date, the fire department, Station 4 responded to 53 calls from October 1st to November 17th. One of them was a vegetation fire, 19 EMS calls, and then the rest of them were miscellaneous calls, a total of 33. The city limits experienced a total of 12 calls. As far as your equipment status, as you can see on the report right here, we have engine 14 boasts 33,984 miles. 17 and 64 are still under review. We're going to get you guys that acceptance letter by the beginning of next week in email form, along with some of the needs that they're going to require or not. Career development, as you can see, we completed actually it's a 12-week academy, but we just extended it by another 2 weeks to include some rescue training. In-service training is what we do on a regular basis, CPR, fire officer training, continuing education for emergency medical support and service. Strength management, as you can see, starting tomorrow, we're going to start providing 3-0 staffing, which is 3 people on an engine. Right now, because, and I'll explain why, Station 2 usually has this 4-0 staffing out at Union Road. Well, because fire season has somewhat concluded, they don't need 4 people on the rig over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that one person and bring them here. So when these gents go out to train, they got 3 people to train them. They got 3 people to arrive on scene with, and more staffing is better. As for your reserve firefighters in District 4, you have a total of 7 after last academy graduation, and recruiting efforts are continuous and ongoing right now. As far as the fire marshal report, as we spoke last week, we've got approximately a total of 40 inspections that have been conducted since the beginning of January, and I say approximately because some of them are still pending. We don't close them out until the re-inspections have been done. So once they're done, then we tally them up also. And that concludes my report, pending your questions.
No? All right. Do we have any speaker cards?
No.
Okay. I'll bring it back to council here.
17 is the county, the larger county vehicle. And
Yes.
64 is the small
Rescue.
The small
F550 or whatever it is,
Right.
the Ford. Okay, thanks.
Think that.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Who do you have with you here tonight?
I have Captain Bedola, acting engineer, Holding.
He seems to be well known around here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Good job, you guys. Be safe. Anything for the library report or pass on that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Staff? Roger?
That's
Anything in
fine.
that? No? Okay. Administrative report.
Again, Public Works, they've been out doing some repairs on sidewalks, trying to get some handicap ramps involved and everything. And so they're making some headway on it. Did some stuff up on Lang Street as well as Washington. We're trying to catch the most egregious things that'll keep down potentially from our insurance carriers any type of liability if somebody trips and falls and breaks a shoulder or something like that. You know. Planning Department, we're continuing to process our annexations and getting ready for our general plan. And tonight you'll see where we've removed it from your agenda, and it's going to the Planning Commission first, and then it'll come back to you on that December 15th meeting. And in my report, we're finalizing our revenue bonds. I have an attachment there where we've been interviewed by S&P and given a rating, and so it's very favorable, and that's going to help us in the bond refinancing to where we can get an attractive rate, and that's going to be a fixed rate for the next 29 years. So, yeah. Keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay.
I got one comment on that
No.
rating. We got A, what was it?
A minus.
A minus. Pretty good job. I think Roger's been managing our money all right, so he treats it like his own, so.
We never got an A minus, so that must be good, huh? Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go to public meetings and city council committee reports. I'll start to my left. Chris?
The Intergovernmental Committee asked that we bring something back to the full city council. There's a conversation taking place about what they'd like to do. The county and the city of Hollister have been, I guess they've been negotiating for some period of time about combining their libraries, the library systems. There's a lot of energy around creating a new library. And they have, there's now a move on to do a needs assessment, and they'd like to include San Juan Bautista, have us participate in that needs assessment. And so they're looking, they want to hire a consultant to do that. And so they asked us to bring that back to the full council, discuss it. If we agree sort of in principle to the idea, then they'll go out and get some quotations, and then we'll find out what we're potentially on the hook for. But we don't have any sense of the dollars involved, but they would be looking for us to help pay for the needs assessment.
I pretty much influenced that. We didn't have the funds for that needs assessment, but we could use our library as a role model for them if they need that.
Plus the fact, I don't want to get...
Chris, have they talked about any dollar amount for our participation in the needs assessment?
No, that's they asked us to come back, talk to the group, and then if there was sort of general agreement that they wanted to go forward with the needs assessment. I think the needs assessment will take place regardless of whether we participate. That was my read. Because this is the county and the city of Hollister. We're not. I think we're along for the ride. But there could be benefit in integration. Not necessarily, I'm not suggesting we integrate our library with their system, but that we understand the needs, the full needs assessment covering the whole county gives us feedback on our system and potentially improvements that we can make here at the same time, as well as opportunities for us to work more closely with them on shared resources. And frankly, I know very little about the library system, so this is, I don't want to, I know there's a very strong auxiliary here, and I don't want to step on any toes. I'm not, there was no advocating for an elimination or a merger.
And I think from our standpoint, we run a good ship and everything, but the San Juan library system is more than just a library system for the city. There's a lot of people from the county use it.
Yeah.
And if anything, that should be brought to the board of supervisors, so maybe they could participate, because it's really a more regional western library that entails the county as well as the city.
Yeah, no, that's the genesis.
They do a remarkable job for what they have to work with. Yeah.
Well, and that is the genesis of this. They're talking about the county and the city working together so that they don't duplicate efforts largely. They want to make it. They want to make sure they're not duplicating efforts.
Yeah, I would check with the library staff, see if they want to even get involved. I mean, the Hollister library is a mess. You know, they can't run it at all. Ours runs beautifully because it's all volunteer, and we have no problem.
Well, again, all we're talking about is a needs assessment for the, for the entire county.
I would check
That's
with
all
the
we're
staff
talking
and
about.
see what they feel, because I don't know any more about library than you do.
Sure.
But if they think it's important, and I look at it. If they don't think it's important.
Well, the other thing they brought up is that they went to the high school to talk to them about merging, and the high school told them no. That was, I was kind of wondering about that too, and why they, other than safety issue or money problems.
Yeah, I don't know.
Roger, wasn't our library started by a bequest or donation to the city, and aren't we required to maintain the library in perpetuity? So we can't get out of the library, and we can't combine with them. We've got to have our own.
Yeah, again, Rick, we're not suggesting that we combine. We're just talking about a needs assessment for the county to determine if we have unmet needs, that, and whether we involve them or not in terms of a solution. It's just an opportunity to gather information, to get information.
And again, I think it'd be very important we talk to the library
Absolutely.
staff, see what they think about it. If they think it's a good idea. Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm wondering, can we justify paying money to do their needs assessment? You know what I mean?
That's why I strongly influenced him to that. Our budget was tight enough. Plan on zero.
Mayor Lund was pretty specific about that. Don't expect any money from us.
If we have any money, we'll give it to our library.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a number of.
Hold on, Chris. On the one that is that related to the
I
committee
think if
meeting?
we have.
I'd like to speak. She's
On
just
this?
getting my note.
On this item?
Yes, this one.
Is
Deborah, is this appropriate, or should we agendize this and take it up later? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
It sounds like we're going to have a lot of conversation about it and how we're going to do that. So what we're going to do is we'll agendize it for next month's meeting, and all the speaker cards will be met at that time. We're just kind of doing the informationals right now.
Okay. That was I think that was the only thing that concerned us in particular.
Yeah, anything else I wanted to talk about kind of got pushed out.
Yeah. There continues to be a lot of discussion about a joint use facility. There was a lot of concern on the city of Hollister's part about liability regarding the homeless in the riverbed, and so they're working towards some solutions for that, with an alternative location to move those folks and be able to force them to move. So, and that stuff's ongoing. But anyway, that was my only meeting.
That was your only meeting?
I didn't have a meeting.
No meeting? I was at the same intergovernment. And
Yeah, I hate this part. I go to so many meetings, I can never figure out which one's for the city and which are for the company and which are for the hospital. But we were the COG stakeholders meeting. I was at that one, and the fire committee with you. It's still, I don't want to even get started on it.
Okay. Rick?
Nothing at LAFCO on San Juan.
Okay. Pretty much, we just talked about it. The fire meeting was pretty much the same status what Chief gave a report on, and that we're going to come back and have we had our special meeting for the fire contract, and was that sent to Hollister yet?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. So we're still writing that one out?
It's on the agenda tonight.
Okay. All right. And that was it for me.
Okay.
All right, we'll move along to public hearings. First one would be considering and adopting the financial is that it?
The first item, 5A, will be continued. That has been deferred to the Planning Commission, and you'll be receiving that back in December.
Okay. And as 5B?
And 5B is a consideration of a ABC license for J&J Burgers. And I've got Rudy here, and I think Rudy's kind of researched it. He can give us a report on that.
Good evening, council, staff. Was looking forward to being called up here, but
Gotcha.
all right, so we're here tonight just to see if council will consider for JJ Burgers to apply for a Type 41 license, which is beer and wine. It's on site. Currently, we're over concentrated. I know ABC requires that there's 8 on site and 4 off site. So what an on site license is that they will be selling alcoholic beverages at the site, and they will be consumed on the site and not taken away from the site. Off site is like a supermarket, a liquor store, convenience store. So we're over concentrated. I believe we have 14, if I'm not correct, on site, and this would be the 15th. But
And what did they recommend?
what's 8?
Or 8?
Yeah.
And that is based on our population. You know, there's a fund.
They say
ABC.
8 for the population-wise.
Yeah.
I'm not a tourist population.
What?
If
They had a license previously, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you had one previously. Was that 2005 or 6?
Yeah.
And then there were some regulations that.
Previously required you to put up fence.
Oh, right.
When the business was slow, it was not managed to do that.
Yes, have them step up to the podium.
Yeah, come on up here.
Yeah, right.
And I surrounded the license back to them, so if not
Okay.
take it away from me, you surround the license back to them.
Right. Because of the fence, you need an enclosure essentially,
Yes.
right? Okay.
And you have that now, or is that something you're going to be installing?
Yeah,
Now it's
he's
got
got
a
it.
fence,
Okay.
White fence.
Oh, boy.
famous fence.
You have any public comment?
Not yet. Is that any more on the report?
I mean, other than that, the fence was one of the requirements that ABC does have for outside eating.
Public lighting.
Yeah, outside
Okay.
eating environments, they have to be closed off by fencing. That way, alcoholic beverages don't go beyond that border.
Okay. All right. If I can have you kind of stand beside, we'll have public comment. What do we have?
Georgiana Galarte?
Georgiana Gallardi, 1 Second Street. I am one of the closest neighbors to JJ, and I want to encourage his business progressing wherever it needs to go. He's a good neighbor, a good tax-based person here for San Juan Bautista, and I certainly am wholeheartedly behind him. Thank you.
Good chili dog, too. All right, any more other comments?
I have no other speaker cards on it.
Okay, I'd like to bring it back to the council. Start with Chris.
I'm very comfortable with this.
Okay.
The only question I had, is it far enough away from the school? I
Yes.
presume ABC
Yes.
looked at that, yeah. So,
My question would be how much he's going to charge for the beer? I'm the neighbor that's not quite as close as.
wait a minute, I was,
But I'm there.
But
I
you
think
can
it's a
afford
great
any
idea.
price, though.
I think it was really nice before. I would enjoy going there for a burger and a beer, and it was great.
I think you were probably asking that for me because you can afford any beer at any point.
But I drink more.
Okay. Rick?
Yeah, ABC's determination on how many licenses they recommend for an area is based on population. We're a tourist town.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with our population here as far as being a fact. I don't see any problem at all with approving this.
I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And Roger, all 14 that are there, how many are really that active? Does all 14 usually have a pretty good base coming in?
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, like you said, it's being a tourist town. It's like
Yeah.
our population is.
Yeah.
We have a daytime population that's much higher than our resident population.
That is correct. Okay.
So, is there a resolute? There's no other.
I think this is just yes or no, and then it's referred back to the planning commission for a
We don't need a
use
motion?
permit. It just, all you need is a consensus and a vote, say, yes, we will allow it, no, we won't.
Okay. So we'll bring this to a vote.
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You want to do a roll call vote for?
Do we need it? I hate these roll call votes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
yes.
Councilmember Martirana,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge,
Yes.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right. All right. There you go.
We like the white fence.
All right, well, let's move along to action items. Move along to A, adopt ordinance 2015 Trish?
45.
45. Amending Chapter 10-2 of the SJB CC to add Section 10-02-65 Plan Line Maps, second reading.
I'm sorry, I gave you the number for resolution. This is number 22.
22. All right, noted. Okay, back to staff.
Yes, this is the second reading and adoption where it gives the planning commission the ability to start planning for new routes to preserve for future circulation, both pedestrian as well as vehicular.
Okay, do we have any public comment?
No, I have no speaker card.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to council.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor for passage unanimously.
Maybe we'll get to see the Warriors game tonight.
Move along to B. Adopt ordinance 2015-
23.
expanding the permit process for small residential rooftop solar systems. This will be a second reading.
Mr. Mayor, this is basically just an ordinance to adopt a requirement that the state has imposed, and it's the model ordinance formatted for San Juan Bautista. So this is
Okay.
second reading, and this will put it into our code
Okay.
in 30 days.
Do we have any public comment? Move back to council.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
Second was by Mr. Costa. Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor for passage unanimously.
I'm going to try and guess this next one. Adopt ordinance 2015-24.
Hey.
Amending the municipal code dealing with regulating massage establishments. This will be a second reading.
So, Mr. Mayor, this was just a some tweaking of our current massage ordinance to comply with changes this year to state law so that it will be enforceable.
Okay, great. Any public comment? Bring it back to council.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor for passage unanimously.
Okay, item 6D. This is where it's going. Consider a request to reconsider medical marijuana dispensary ordinance. Last staff.
I'm going to kind of defer that to Deborah and everything, but at the last meeting, we had passed out the League of California Cities. We have an ordinance in effect, and with the new regulations going forward, we really don't have to do anything. However, the existing ordinance is a little bit weak in cultivation and delivery service, and we can address that after the first of the year.
Well, the ordinance does address cultivation and delivery, and it prohibits it. And so it passes muster with state law, and you really don't have to do anything else. And I know some other jurisdictions are amending their ordinances so they have the specific definitions that are imposed under the new laws. And so I'm going to take a look at those when they go into place. You know, rather than doing anything new for the city, just take a look at and maybe amend those to add the new definitions which reference the new state law. But as it stands now for the city, dispensaries are banned, cultivation is banned, and distribution is banned by mobile sources.
Okay.
So, question, if we don't amend our ordinance regarding cultivation, then if the state passes a law permitting it in counties where there's no regulation, cities, would that make it allowable in the
No.
city?
Because you ban it, you have the correct type of zoning code, and you ban cultivation. So the state would not be allowed to issue a license to someone to cultivate marijuana within the city boundaries.
Okay, but my question is, if we do nothing, are we opening the door for cultivation?
No, you are not. It's banned right now.
It is banned, and so it would remain
You are in
banned.
compliance with what the state law allows you to do to ban cultivation within your jurisdiction.
Okay.
So, sorry, we match up with the League of California Cities recommendations, as they're saying. We already are in compliance at that point.
You say no cultivation,
Okay.
and I can tweak it a little to add the current definitions, but
Okay.
nobody can come in at the first of the year and say,
And delivery.
give me a license from the state to cultivate,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it's not allowed.
public.
Any public comment there? No public comment?
Okay. Oh, there we go.
I do have a comment. Sorry.
It's all right.
Hi, I'm Sharon Bush, live here in San Juan Bautista. We are trying to address the ordinance that is in existence now. I have created what most of the dispensaries around do pass out as far as caregiver patient rules and regulations and guidelines for the dispensary and what their obligations are as patients, what our obligations would be as the dispensary or the group that is doing the caregiving. I have made some for each of it.
You can hear it.
Pass these around. I know there were issues about security as far as that's concerned. There are statistics out there that address security and what's happened so far as when a dispensary comes in and the security that's required of a dispensary, that any kind of crime rate or that issue goes down. Locally, you have Love Them to Death, but you have Daisies, and you have mom and pops, the motorcycles, and everybody that hangs out there, and the alcohol that's consumed in either one of those creates more of a potential risk than a dispensary would. We have options of putting interior roll-down security shutters, would not change the face of the town. There's also the options of overnight security, as people being able to. There's a possibility of renting one place in town that has an apartment. That there could be a security person on duty all the time there. There's issues with the number of sheriff's staff that you have here in town. We could help solve those things if those do appear to be one of the major problems. There's the good neighbor policy for help us as a business, helping control noise ordinances, loitering, littering, and all of that. That's all part of the responsibilities of making it a compatible business here in town. But this would be a guideline, as it's set up right there, for an ordinance. There are pre-existing ordinances that pretty much follow those step by step, but just written in legalese. Okay. You got a question? You got a question, Rob?
Yeah, actually, on the first one there, it says you must have a current city, county, or state-issued medical cannabis ID. Are these regulated where the dispensary is?
No, not at all. In fact, the dispensaries are really not allowed to have a physician on staff. The physician is the patient. The patient has to seek out his own physician and get the recommendation. And then the physician will either issue a written recommendation like a prescription and or the ID card, which looks like a little driver's license.
So what's the difference between a city, county, or state-issued?
Some counties issue their own. State, it's most of everything that I've seen. Elliot might be able to help answer it as just the state-issued IDs.
Now, would these be regulated like if they had maybe a Hollister City cannabis card as when they come into San Juan? Or do they have to be in that city?
From what I understand, the way it is right now, you can go to any dispensary in the state of California as long as you have a California ID and the official ID for the cannabis.
Do you have any other speaker cards? Okay, well, I'm going to bring this back to council. Anything else you'd like to add?
I have potential write-ups for a ordinance that pretty much follows suit to one that has been written a long time ago up in Northern California, but also was written almost verbatim for Delray Oaks. And we also have a copy coming for the Salinas one that just passed.
All right, thank you.
Another speaker?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know where the cards were or anything. I just wanted to address...
Your name?
Oh, Travis Smith. I'd like to address...
Address?
What?
Where you live?
Address.
Oh, address is in Watsonville, and I'm a friend of the Bushes here. And I'd like to address the growing and the supply issue of that. We've had medical marijuana here for over 20 years. And in the beginning, it was a little unregulated. But now there's clear supply chains from legal grows that don't have to be in your city here. And the science behind the testing is making sure that you're getting a well-regulated product now. It's not like before where it's just grown in someone's backyard and you don't know what was in it. And so I'd like to share a packet from one of the testing facilities and all the things they test for. I don't know who to give it to. And it's really come a long way. All the packaging, it comes pre-packaged, tested, and the patients really know what they're getting nowadays. And it's been with us 20 years. It's not going to go away. And we're not testing anything new here. It's been tried over and over in different jurisdictions and with varying success, but I think that we've got the formula down where it will work and not be an impact on the town. It won't be accessible to anybody other than the people that need it. It's not going to be a burden. It's just going to be a source of revenue and a source of medicine for people that need it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I think we got another one.
Richard Ponce?
Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street. We aren't just any town. We are a tourist community. I think a dispensary doesn't fit in what we're trying to do with this community. So I'm totally against it. Their presentation sounds good, and they're going to supposedly take care of our problems at the bars, but I don't think that'll happen. So I'm against it. Thank you.
Any more cards?
No.
Okay, I'm going to bring this back to council. Any comments, Chris?
We have maybe one more.
One more?
Thank you.
All right.
My name is Kathleen Federico. I'm from Monterey County. I just want to address you as a patient. I started with doctors, very bad health issues, over 16, 17 years of opiates for pain, and sleeping tablets so I can go to sleep from the pain. And it kept going on like a revolving door. One after another, constant doctors' pills. It wasn't until I found medical cannabis that I was able to get off of that. True, it did take some time of titrating down off of the opiates and all the other synthetic drugs. But I'm now to the point where I'm clean. I am no longer on any pharmaceuticals at all, thanks to medical cannabis. And I do say medical cannabis. It is the kind that helped me get better. It helped me stabilize. It helped with the pain. I no longer have sleep issues. And it is because of all the testing that I researched on my own that I would only go for that type of cannabis. There are different types out there, granted, but what we're asking for here is medical. And there is a need for it, a very big need. And I just want to say that it does help. You can go to the bar, you can have a good time, you can get drunk. Nobody will say two words to you unless you get into the back of the car. you can get high or have a good time on some cannabis, but 10 to 1 you'll wind up staying where you're at and going to sleep. It's not getting behind and causing an accident in most cases. So I just want to give you that other side, that there is a need and there is a way to put it forth to your community, to help your community with what I've heard a lot of money issues or helping. And there's a lot of elderly here in this community. It is a bedroom community. And you would only help those in need of that. Just please think about it and read the properties and the papers that they have given to you, because they have been studied. And if you needed to know anything else, I can answer.
All right,
But
thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't have any more, I'll bring it back to council.
No, you don't. No.
Hi,
Well, can't they fill out cards?
Yeah, I'd like to get.
So we know.
Elias Salinas. I just wanted to, before you guys make a decision on continuing with the ordinance the way it is, as we're here to say we would like to get a dispensary for the Bush family in here, is I would like to invite you, and I would personally take you to a dispensary so you can see what it is like, what kind of patients are going in there. And actually it's more difficult to get into a dispensary than it is to get into a bank that's going to get robbed. Actually, it's safer. So I know that that's a big issue here about the safety or whatever. The Bushes are, wanting to bring in 24 hours, not just the security cameras, but actually security service that's going to help to be in, locally. So that would be kind of good for that they would work in coordinates with the sheriff's department so that they know that they're going to be here. They're not necessarily armed people, but they can contract private security that are going to be armed as well. But the more than important is, before you make a decision, is to please visit a dispensary and see what it is all about. Take a look at what the medicine looks like, actually what different types of medicines are out there and what they actually do for individual people, from children to older people who need this medicine. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Good, thank you.
Jolene Cozio?
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. I just want to say first off that I am 100% behind the council's decision. I was behind the decision when I was on council and we passed the ordinance against having a medical marijuana site in San Juan Bautista. But I also would like to understand the possibility of delivery, because I do believe that there are medical needs for marijuana and that they can help certain conditions. It can help certain conditions. And I want to fully understand what you said about you can't grow it, you can't have a dispensary. Can it be delivered to a patient in San Juan, or is that also under the ordinance not allowed?
Right, your ordinance says no deliveries.
No deliveries. Does that preclude people? I heard them say that there's now a dispensary open in Salinas. Does that preclude people from going to Salinas who have a medical marijuana card, bringing it home?
No.
Then I'm 100% behind the council.
Nothing else.
All right, I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back to council.
Hey, I gotta go out of town to get my heart medicine. They don't sell it in town.
Okay.
A lot of the arguments are talking about the issue of whether or not medical marijuana is good. Really, the issue that we're dealing with here is, do we allow a business in town to sell it? We're not arguing that it's not beneficial medically or any other way. I'm influenced by the fact that nobody around here has it now. I understand Salinas has it now, has a dispensary. But, I mean, why not Gilroy? why not Morgan Hill? Why not Watsonville? Why San Juan Bautista? Why do we have to provide a marijuana dispensary? Why can't some of the other big cities do it if it's such a good thing? The income thing is not valid as far as I'm concerned. And I just don't see why we need to provide it. Santa Cruz is not that far away. People go over to Santa Cruz all the time. San Francisco, San Jose, now Salinas. I mean, why do we have to have one here in town? I'm sorry. I just, it's not the kind of thing that I think reflects well on a community. There's still that feeling out there that marijuana is for abusing and not for medical purposes. We all know differently. But the fact is, it's not a totally accepted thing yet. It's still against federal law. So we don't need to do it here. We have no need for it. And if the laws change, the income aspect of this issue is going to go down the tubes, because the cities and counties that haven't developed regulations prohibiting it are going to have to allow it if the laws change. And once that happens, it'll be available so widely that people aren't going to come over the hill from Fresno to buy it here. So I just don't see it.
Chris? I see it as, I have a couple of different questions that this sort of lumps into a couple of different areas for me. First is the question of whether we should, if the community is comfortable with it, if it's something that the broader community is comfortable with having in town. And then there's the issues around enforcement that we've talked about, physical plant security, things like that. So there's the mechanics of doing it correctly. In talking to a lot of people around town, including posing the question to the full strategic plan committee, who is arguably a lot of our leading citizens, that group was strongly opposed to the idea, and they brought up exactly the same issues we brought up, largely centered around enforcement. I don't think anybody I don't think anybody has suggested that there's not a medical need for it, but I think it's just not appropriate for the community. I don't think it fits with the community. I don't think, and then on the backside, I don't think we have the infrastructure to support it, to regulate it, and to manage it. When I was elected now about a year ago, the three biggest issues were water, police, and then general enforcement issues, those basic functions. And this goes directly to some of those issues. So I'm not in favor of making a change. In fact, I would suggest we refer it back to legal for any strengthening that we need to make sure we're very clearly in compliance, so that we do not have any question about whether we line up perfectly with the upcoming regulations. And that is not to say that we don't review this at some point in the future, but I'm uncomfortable with, we don't really have a proposal in front of us. We've talked about what we can do. We can have the security gates, and we can do this, and we can do that, but we don't have any sort of business plan or more structured proposal in front of us to really address these issues directly. And I think that's something that maybe we can revisit at some point in the future. But for today, my recommendation, I think we should just stick with the ban, strengthening potentially the ban we have, and moving on from this issue.
Okay, I'll say this. Not one person that I talked to in San Juan approved of this. None of them needed it or wanted it. Even when I said, you can make a whole lot of tax money, they didn't want it. Second thing, start of this meeting, we stand up here and pledge allegiance to this flag. as far as I know, the federal government has not changed their rules. So it's in violation of your CSA. I would like to, as Chris said, reinforce that we have this ordinance, and if there's any way to strengthen it, so that we don't get blindsided somehow, that's what I'd like to see.
All right. A lot of concerns and stuff were brought up, and so taken under advisement. I don't feel that the council feels strong for this.
But I think it'd be, Councilmember Edge was right. I don't think anyone here is against medical marijuana.
No.
I don't think anyone here would oppose that. But to put a dispensary in this small tourist town,
there's a difference between the two.
Yeah,
That's not gonna happen.
you know, like I said, I drive out of town to get my heart medicine.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, if we did approve something, we have to answer to our constituents.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I haven't run into anybody that says, oh, yeah, that's a wonderful idea. You know, so
I'd like to direct, I'd like us to direct staff to work on revising the current ordinance, or at least reviewing it very carefully to be fully compliant with the upcoming law. Is that, or how does everybody else feel about that?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, staff has direction. Okay, we'll move along. Item E, consider changes to the community hall rental regulations regarding security and cancellation fee.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, at your last regular meeting, we presented a staff report, and it had in there our problems with cancellation. People are renting the community hall well in advance, sometimes 6 months ahead of time, and then 30 days before that they cancel, and then we're having a hard time getting somebody to take it, and it's costing us a little bit of a revenue. So we felt that maybe putting a mandatory $100 cancellation fee, administrative cancellation fee, would maybe curtail that and maybe put the dampers on that. You would see tonight in the warrants and everything, there was 3 cancellations, $700. It's $2,100.
Do we have a time limit of cancellation?
Yeah. They have to let us know, what is it, 30 days in advance?
If they're going to cancel, they're going to cancel.
Yeah.
We usually know within.
Right, but I mean, like, we'll give them a full refund if they book it 6 months in advance, but if they cancel within 45, I'd like to see 45 days.
They're recommending 90.
What's that?
They're recommending 90.
90.
I think 90 is good.
90 is good.
Yeah.
I thought we were at 30, but 90 is good.
Well, that's the change. We are at 30. So it would become 90
This gives
with
us
a
a little bit of
$100 fee, cancellation fee.
It's strictly a mechanism to let the people know, that, are you serious about this, rather than just putting it up and hold it and then turn around.
If we book the hall in the meantime, will we give them a full refund?
No. The $100 is an administrative cancellation fee.
Okay, so it's administrative
Yeah,
cancellation
right.
fee. It's not
Yeah.
direct deposit value. Okay, that sounds good. Do we have any
So-
public comment on that? Okay.
What's the pleasure of the council?
So if they don't cancel within 90 days, it's going to cost them $100.
That's correct.
When they rent it, do they put up their $700
Yes.
up front?
They put up at least 500 to hold it, and at this point, we ask for, I think, 30 days in advance that we get the additional, I think it's
$200 for the cleaning.
200 for the
Cleaning part, a total of $700. Yeah.
And then
But
we have a
no,
The
cleaning
balance, the
And then
balance,
there's,
within 30 days.
yeah.
Then-
Whatever
you're
the
right.
balance
Yeah,
is.
$200.
Okay.
And if the facility is not cleaned up and our our maintenance guys go in, then we retain an hourly rate for our men to clean it up, and then we discount that from the refund.
I think the 90 days and $100 is, it makes, at least we have a chance of renting it out again, or whatever.
Is the $100 enough?
I think that Michelle and Trish and Roger are the ones dealing with this every day, and I'm perfectly comfortable with whatever they recommend. I don't think we need to second guess them.
Okay.
Because they're handling it
I'm
every day.
confident with them.
Yep.
So I have consensus of the council?
Yes.
Do you need a motion, Roger? Or? This is administrative,
Well,
basically.
also, okay, so in here, we also had a, okay, so that's a separate issue, sorry. Okay, so just direction to staff is fine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll move along to item F. Consider proposal to participate in an MOU for 2015 AMVAG Regional Orthoimaginary Project? How do you say that?
Orthophotography.
It takes us a long ways away.
Ooh, it's not how it's written.
Huh? Orthophotography.
I'm going on what was written on the agenda item here.
And that's...
What's that one say?
And it's a service that the AMVAG is...
Ortho-imagery.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a service that AMVAG is trying to... If I have Rudy, he can come up. He's talked to him and attended a thing, and he has a little bit first-hand knowledge. I put in my recommendation is not to exceed $500 if we decide to go with it, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, how much were they asking?
I believe they said about $950 or so.
Yeah.
$950. I'm not necessarily sure as to where all those costs go, but I guess we get a year of technical support. Essentially, from what I understand, is all it is going to be a layer that we could use on the GIS, which we do through the county already. And it's I don't know if it's supposed to make it look a lot better, but I currently use a Google Earth, which might be essentially the same thing. So
we're going to pay for another service we already have.
That's what it sounds
well,
like.
we get the Google Earth for free, so.
And
so we're going to pay for a service that we get for free.
And currently, just to put it in perspective, and I know I've talked to Rudy about it, we're in contract with the county of San Benito for a GIS service, and that costs us $8,515 a year.
Do we have any public comment on that?
Well,
okay.
Rudy, do you need this?
Well,
it won't be on you if you answer. Don't worry.
Well, at this current time, I don't have any need for it.
Okay, that's what I need.
Do you want it?
I want it. Sure. I mean, right now,
any toy you can get, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how it could help us with the GIS when we can also embed the Google Earth layers onto GIS already. I mean, I don't have those technical expertise as of yet, but eventually it will come across them.
So, as the AMBAG representative,
you can abstain if you want. Just to keep
I'm just surprised because if they haven't convinced you that it's a value, I don't think we should do it. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, but they clearly haven't made any kind of strong case to you. You're not.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like I know more about it than you do, and I got a 10-minute presentation.
Right.
So
well,
if they haven't convinced you, then
yeah. I've also talked to Renee over with the county GIS, and she's the one that really told me that it was going to be similar to Google Earth, because I've seen pictures for the orthophotography project from separate areas, and they look similar to Google Earth. So I don't necessarily see what benefit we could get from this.
If you're doing larger scale planning projects and highway projects, that's where in the descriptions that I got, that's where it made sense. It made a difference. We're just not talking about any projects that cover enough area for the distortion to make to really probably come into effect at all. So that's why I questioned it. But
All right, I'll bring it back. Pretty much everybody's decision is no.
I don't see the need.
If you'd like, I could ask somebody from AMBAG to.
That's all right.
No? All right.
No.
No.
There might be a Warriors game on at that time.
We got 17 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so our decision on that is negative. We're just going to move on to that. We'll move on to G, consider resolution 2015. 45, amending the reserve policy.
Yeah, this is part of the refinancing there, and inside the reserve we have three areas in each, the water department as well as the sewer department, and that's a reserve program where we have emergency operating revenues and an emergency capital reserves, and then we have the rate stabilization fund. Now, the rate stabilization fund is originally we said 10% of the total operating cost of the system in water and sewer, and that includes capital improvements. And then there's a base fee in the water of $75,000 or $57,000 a year, and we have to build it up to $171,000 as a rate stabilization. And in the sewer, it's $75,000 flat, and then that's the rate stabilization. But part of the rate stabilization, where it says 10% of our total operating there, and when Wendy and I talked about it, with the money that we set aside, and we have the emergency operating capital reserve and the capital reserve, and then the rate stabilization, there's a lot of overlapping and duplication. And originally when we reviewed it, we said, let's put 10% in there. Well, after we got looking at it, we decided that 5% of the total operation, because it includes a lot of like $800,000 worth of capital improvements, and we're paying 5% of that to build up a rate stabilization. The key to it, I think, is that the rate stabilization is a very fluid thing where it can go in and out, and when you get money, and it's supposed to balance out the volatility of the revenues coming in from your rates and stuff like that. And I think we've got a good history where that rate and the revenues coming in is fairly stable, with the exception of the drought resistance that threw a kink into it. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to change it from the 10% is to go 5, 5, and 5 on the rate stabilization, because there's two clauses in there where it's you maintain 5%, and then you have to have another 5% of the baseline, and then another 5%. So if we stuck with a 5, 5, and 5 on each, in the sewer we were 5, 5, 5, but in the water we were 10, 5, 5, and we wanted to make them the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that way we'd be able to reach that.
And the base is still going to be $75,000 in the sewer, $171,000 in the water, and that will be reserve funds that is there to be used to supplement the rate stabilization as we need it.
Roger, did any of this come up with the bond rating of the?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We talked about it in depthly about the duplication and stuff like that, and then covered with that is we showed them that we have $365,000 over and above all this sitting in our cash reserve for where we saved up for the pellet plant, and in the sewer we've got $865,000. So, and they were very impressed that we were very diligent in building those funds up to complete these capital improvement programs.
Okay. It's a change in this.
Doesn't
okay.
Yeah.
How much did you say the annual budget was? The reserve is budgeted annually at.
Well, the sewer is $871,000, and the water is $765,000. So
but look,
10% of that, you
in the
see,
re-
is a lot, or 5%
In
is
the emergency capital
39,000
reserve.
versus 71,000.
In the emergency capital reserve.
Mm-hmm.
171 and what was the other?
Yeah, right. In the capital, that's a percentage of the capital improvements that we're doing, you know.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you were saying it was 75,000 and not
75 in the 75 in the sewer and 171 in the water.
Okay, because I get 57,000 down here.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just change that to-
57,000 annual. You
Annual.
read that, annual, up to a maximum of 171.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that clarifies what I have.
And I think that's achievable. Mm-hmm.
Do we have any public comment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna bring
And just to be there, both Wendy and I over the last 3 years have informally done the same thing that they've asked us, because we were always worried about we have to have these different layers, and we've kept track of it internally. And that's one of the things, and you'll see in there where we did not do the collateralization of the two funds. We just did it independently. And that was one of the negative comments that they had, that we should have done the consolidation of these funds so that we would reflect it in our thing. So we've been really doing the three funds for the last 3 years, only informally.
All right, now we'll make the policy public comments closed, and we'll bring it back to.
I've been through it. It looks great.
For a motion.
Yeah. Oh, you?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 2015, what's the number?
45?
45?
45, amending the reserve policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bob?
Yes.
Councilmember Martorana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimous.
Okay, we'll move along to item
But
H.
Before we go on there, one of the critical questions that they asked both Wendy and I in our interviews was, how are you going to address the general fund imbalance, you know, the $1.8 million? And both Wendy and I said, yes, we have addressed it. We've analyzed 8 different options. We've kind of zeroed in one option, and I told him, I says, depends on the sale of our bonds and the savings, and where we can pay off paybacks. We're going to save $92,000 a year. We're going to start applying that to a systematic debt reduction of the enterprise fund to the general fund over a period of years. And the savings from our refinancing is going to give us the additional revenue where we can maintain that for the next 29 years.
Great.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And I think it was, I can't remember what option it was, but one of those. And we'll revisit that as soon as we get the bond sold.
Good.
And we know our savings. And I told you not to address it now, wait until we get to things. Then when everything settles down, we'll take a hard look at it and say, this is the direction we're going to go.
Good. Did I forget that one? All right, we'll move along. Consider resolution 2015-46. Amending the fiscal year 2015-2016 budget.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, inadvertently when we prepared the budget, there was something that cropped up for a security cost, and it resulted in about a $2,800, almost $3,000 worth of security. And so I had to take a look and say, where do I take this out of? And I decided to take it out of a number of budgets, and you'll see, and council will add $100 to their budget. The clerk, the treasury, finance, the planning, you know. And so I've tried to take that security out of a number of issues here. And when I was doing the correction of this, I looked at the Public Works budget and not the Public Works Street and the Public Works building. And when we prepared that, something got mixed up in the manpowers, and all the additional manpower of 2 extra men were put in the building department, and they should have been put in the street department. And so I had to deduct $7,086 out of the building department and add it into the street. And so that's kind of a swap, what it is. What I gained in the street, I took out of the building department. So that's a swap. But one of the other things that we came across was, and I think Tony is aware of this, is where when we authorized Caltrans to change the signal lighting on that, each year I get a bill from them where we pay 50% of the light and electricity and maintenance. And then all of a sudden we got a $2,600 and a $1,300 bill for putting those ped heads in at a total of about $3,900. And I had no place to put that. And so I wanted to augment the budget in 642 and 655 to cover those 2 costs. Okay.
Okay.
And the final one is that in the fire department I had $4,000 in there to put get rid of the 2 garage doors and get rid of that center pedestal and do 1 22-foot garage door on the Polk side. However, when we were talking about emergencies and contingencies plan and sandbags were coming up, it didn't dawn on me that this city hall and this fire department do not have an emergency generator. The old one we took out was an old military one, and it's sitting in the yard and doesn't do there. So I cost out a new emergency generator that runs on gas, that can be set anywhere around in here, that will provide the necessary power, emergency power for the fire department and City Hall here during an emergency. And so I bumped it up to $5,000, and you'll see in the fire department budget, we added an additional $5,000 in there just for the emergency generator. And I think that's a higher priority to me than a garage door at this time. So total overall, I come back and I said that we need to augment the budget by $10,450.
Okay. Okay. Any public comment? Okay, close public comment?
Yeah. Can I save a tree?
A big tree.
One piece of paper tree. While you're augmenting the budget, I understand all the things that you've mentioned have pretty much already happened and had to be taken care of. But I do want to mention, I think I got up last month or the month before and mentioned how great the website is looking. And I hope you've all taken a look at it. And it's such a great thing for bringing people to our city, and that's what brings our city money. That website is getting visited frequently. It's looking better all the time. And it came to my attention at the Strategic Planning Committee meeting that we are out of funds for the year for any more improvements on that, on the website. And there were a few other things that still need to be finished. Tonight it was wonderful. I went on the website and I printed out the warrant listing. And for me, I like to be able to look at that, and it was so nice to be able to do that. And there's just all sorts of things and links, and it's really great, and I really think that it's going to be an asset to the city as far as bringing in visitors, not just to citizens who like to be able to do something like print out a warrant list. The current one, wow. So if you have any more fudging in the budget that you could...
Yeah. I was under the impression that I funded her for a full year of $1,247, and did she use all that up already?
No, she hasn't used it all up, but it is very time consuming.
Yeah, time consuming. So
maybe I misunderstood.
She's funded and everything. We try to keep it to where she doesn't exhaust it all in 6 months and spread it out over a full year. But she's doing a good job of bringing it up to speed. and then improving it all the time.
We'll come back to you. If
Yeah.
we're too close to the
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, we are close to the end, well, no, we're not close to the end of the fiscal year, are we? We're close to the end of the year, but the fiscal year
About
goes
6
a long
months,
way,
yeah, right,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I thought you were going to bring up council stipends or something like that. I was.
Yeah.
I didn't have one when I was there, so I don't see why you need one.
But if you ever come back, it'll be there for you.
Oh, no, that's right. Oh, maybe.
Think ahead.
We're all getting new pickup trucks too.
That was a joke.
It was.
Oh.
I was already picking my color.
So we have
Already have the heated leather
resolution
seats.
21546. Was that voted on?
No,
Not yet.
No.
that was
Council
public
have any
comment.
questions?
Yes.
Okay.
You said a gas generator, gasoline?
Natural gas.
No, it was going to be natural gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
My only concern, and it would, is if there's a earthquake, it ain't gonna run. So I just, that doesn't seem to.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about that issue, is that if you do get a major ground shaker and it interrupts the gas service, then you're out there.
Yeah.
The only reason I was partial to that is that
It's easy. It makes sense.
it goes with the greenhouse gas emission, and it eliminates. Now the diesel generators have got to have the scrubbers on it, and
Yeah.
they're very expensive. You know.
What about propane with a tank? So we could have service.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about an emergency. We're
Yeah.
worrying about the greenhouse gases in
Yeah.
such a limited basis seems.
Well, let me, now that
That would be my input.
Yeah, there is. I'll research that and I'll come back, before I purchase it with a purchase order, and then we'll evaluate the options. Yeah, I wasn't too particularly enthused about a diesel, and most of them are diesel operated.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not clear. I don't know what the scale of what you're describing is.
If there's a quake, they'll shut the gas off right away.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Yeah. Move that we, a resolution of the City of San Juan, Council of the City of San Juan Batiste to amend the fiscal budget 2015-2016. That's resolution 2015-46.
Correct. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving along. Consider
we need
proposed
a-
fire
We
contract.
need a roll call.
Oh, roll call vote. Got that game on my head now.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is carried by the making of unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, consider fire contract with City of Hollister. Staff, start.
Well, we kind of made the corrections that we talked about the last time, and it reflects the 180 days in there. And
Do I need to get a copy of this for anybody? I just realized it's not in your packet, but it was emailed to you.
Yeah. No, I got it.
Uh-huh.
It's in here.
Well, but,
It is
well,
in there?
Yeah.
I have one. Is this the current?
You put it in? Okay.
it's not in my packet.
You don't have, I'm gonna go.
I don't. Well,
Where's your
and
binder?
I don't use a binder. No,
No, I was
not.
working on it on Friday, so I'm almost
Right.
at my email.
He's a kid that went,
But I think the email
The
didn't
dog
necessarily
ate his
reflect
homework,
all
too.
the changes.
It's
that not-
pretty much finalized when I get the email,
Okay.
right, Roger?
Yeah.
yeah.
If there's something that was missed out, that's what we just have.
Okay. Well, and I spoke to Roger. When did we? That was on Friday, I think.
Friday, yeah.
So I didn't see that email on Friday. And that's probably my fault, not. Yeah, that's all right.
And we got Robert Lund as the approval authority rather than Tony Bach.
It takes till November to get that right, and it'll go on for another year.
I spent 4 days reading through the general plan, all that stuff, the amended budget, and this.
They have it on tapes.
What?
Yeah. Well, I had it for 4 days, but thank God I don't.
I had to get my forklift to bring.
He didn't say
Can I
that.
see attachment A?
So Roger, so this is what we're going to send over to them?
Yeah, and you're certainly welcome to look at it. I know John has reviewed it and stuff like that. In terms of the exhibit.
Chief Fox?
Yeah.
Any concerns, anything you'd like to add, subtract? Have you seen?
We changed, yeah, go ahead, John.
Oh, there's just,
One of the key changes was that some of the errors in the way it was interpreted, in like on attachment A6, one of the last paragraphs.
So there was
we
like
said
language changes.
all equipment, we just said all fire department and vehicles equipment will go to the contractor, you know. So we tried to be a little bit more specific, you know.
So there's only mainly language changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
the same with the first sentence in A6, which says San Juan will provide fire apparatus, fire vehicles, and fire equipment, and any San Benito County-owned vehicles.
Yeah.
But we don't own San Benito County.
Right, but that's still in here.
So, yeah, and so we were going to say we will house the fire and vehicle in San Benito County at Station 4. Instead of provide, we will house.
Provide.
San Juan will house the fire apparatus, fire engines, and equipment, and any San Benito County owned vehicles at Station 4. Bingo.
Doesn't mean the
Contract will be-
firefighters?
Yeah, and I think it's just clarification, you know, provide versus house.
But we are providing fire apparatus,
Yeah.
vehicles,
Yeah.
and equipment.
Yeah.
And then we're housing any vehicles owned by the county.
Do we have a minimum and maximum of what we have to provide?
No.
It's not specified.
No.
So should we specify that? What do you think?
I think it's pretty late in the conversation for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, I think we're pretty clear. We have a truck, they're getting our truck, so, or two trucks.
Well, engine and rescue.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll send it over with that change.
The only other thing was on D3, grant administration.
Yeah.
Just maybe look at the wording to, if there are matching funds that are required, that the council should be notified of the amount before the grant's applied for.
Yeah, we talked about
I
that
think
last meeting.
Yeah, I think we covered this adequately. I mean, they're not gonna be able to.
Yeah. Says
Can't
here, yeah.
vote us to.
It's implied that the contractor will provide San Juan with information on all grants
Yes.
applied for and any matching funds required
Yeah.
to receive the grant.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I think it's ready to go to the city of Hollister. I don't think we sign it until we get the response.
Yeah. And if those are the things, I'll change that one paragraph in A to say we'll provide the fire and house the equipment in Station 4.
Okay.
And then I'll send it to the chief, he can review it, and then he can present it to Bill Rivera and the council.
Okay, perfect.
So you need a motion?
Now that's just consider proposed, right? Is that right, Dave?
If you wanted to approve it now in this form, then if Hollister approved it, it wouldn't have to come back to you for further signing. But if you wanted to wait to see if Hollister had any problems or changes, then you might want it to come back.
That's what I was saying. We made a motion to approve with the changes that we're talking about.
And then if
Then you can
and if
send it to
they
Hollister.
agree with it and they approve it, then it doesn't have to come back to you.
Just for signing.
What you might want to do is have a resolution come back next time, because there's no
Okay.
resolution here in the staff report, so that, in that event, if there's changes, they can present the changes to you. If there aren't changes, you can just approve the resolution at that point.
Okay.
So
Doesn't
So-
go into place as of December 2nd.
Yeah.
So probably a special meeting?
Yeah, I think the last one we approved by resolution 213-18, yes. And we'll prepare something similar.
So we still need a vote to send this over then with the amended changes. We'll approve it tonight.
Yes, if you want to do that.
We'll approve it tonight, and then we'll send it over there, and then it'll come back for resolution, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve it.
I'm sorry, can you say what we're supposed to say? I'm just a little fuzzy on the language.
So
It
there's no
wasn't clear.
resolution in the packet today.
Right,
So
correct.
you can, right now, make a motion to approve the contract as it exists.
Or with change,
As-
which
as-
the,
as
With
corrected,
changes,
as-
right,
With
as
corrected
corrected,
changes.
With staff to bring back the resolution for approval at the next meeting. However, if Hollister makes any changes, you would like staff to bring back the changes and a new resolution, which shows the changes and allows you to comment on them.
okay. So
So we're
moved.
just cutting out a process. Sorry.
Can I do that?
You beat me.
Well, I think, if it goes, if it has to go into effect December 1st, then
Yeah.
you've approved it as it is.
So do we need a special meeting, or?
No, not at this point.
So
We're
if you
done.
approve it in this way, I
Yeah.
believe you have an approved contract, you just need the resolution and have it signed.
So moved. Is that okay?
Yeah, I've got it down.
I'll
Second.
second.
Thank you.
Tony's got it.
All in favor?
You beat
Aye.
me to it.
All right, roll call vote?
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Marciano,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ed,
Aye.
Mayor Lund,
Aye.
all members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor for passage unanimous.
Okay.
All right, we'll move along to item 7, discussion items, water and sewer payment plan for limited income individuals.
As you recall, at the last meeting, we talked about how we wanted to frame some type of discount to senior citizens that are limited income, that can't afford to pay their utility bills, both sewer or water. And we had talked about utilizing PG&E's criteria of screening, and then we could apply what we felt was appropriate. And now it's really up to the council of how they'd like to go about doing it,
So, Chris, you brought up that if they were already qualified through PG&E and telephone.
Yeah, there were two programs that we looked at. There
Yeah.
was PG&E
And Pac Bell had
and the PAC Bell,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Same, I believe, right, they're both called Lifeline, I think.
Lifeline, yeah.
Yeah, and what it seemed to me that rather than us collecting all the data and doing all the record keeping, if we simply said anyone eligible for one or both of those programs is eligible for this, that to me that
Yeah,
makes sense.
they're going to have either phone or,
Yeah,
And they might have both of them.
So basically what you're saying is if somebody qualifies for a Lifeline with PG&E, then they're eligible to make an application to us
correct.
for a reduced rate.
Yeah.
Now, that's good. Now, the question is
How much?
How much, yeah.
Right.
There you go.
well, okay, so what was our increase on sewer and water this time was?
On the water, it depends on if you're a tier 1, 2, or 3.
What is
Now
it?
it gets
Well,
complicated, see, because
let's start
on
with tier
1, it was about a 12% increase.
Okay.
Tier 2 was a 6%, and tier 3 is actually a reduced rate, because they were paying $6.45 and it goes down to $5.64.
Does PG&E have a formula for reduction?
For on the usage?
The PAC Bell was, I think, or no, Hollister had 25%, wasn't it?
I
For
don't
senior
recall.
citizens
Something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there any history?
on sewer, yeah. Yeah.
Is there any history with other jurisdictions in
Yeah,
the
let
area,
somebody
how
else
much
pick up.
they
Wait,
drop
wait.
the rates?
Let's not reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah.
We just did this for Marina, and we did it based on Lifeline.
Do
And
we?
what was the percentage of reduction?
I don't remember.
Well, sorry.
I would say, okay, so we just had a 12% increase on the tier 1. And if we took half of that and had an 18%, I think that would be accommodating for.
But it's on discussion, with your consensus, we know that we're going to use the Lifeline. Let Trish and I and Rudy go over there, and then let's research it, and we'll go
Sounds
search
good.
around. Perfect. But we'll come up with something that's
Excellent.
right, and then have it back on the agenda item
Great.
as an action item. And give you-
Another suggestion maybe is to find out if you can get any statistics for how many people in this community
Yeah.
would qualify.
Yeah. Would qualify,
Because if it's
I was thinking that
70%
too.
of the community, then we could be creating a much bigger problem
Could
for ourselves.
PG&E and other agencies, would they relinquish the numbers for that?
I doubt it.
They're not public agencies, so I don't think they have to do that.
It's worth asking. They might have some
We have
statistical information.
basically 690 accounts, you know. The draconius portion of this discussion would be as if we had 680 people qualified. But I don't think
That would have to be a
gonna
consideration.
I don't think that's going to be the case.
So we'll just come back. You've got homework, and
Yeah.
Good.
come back with the homework. And
Bring it back when you're ready.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Yes.
I didn't fill out a card.
Again? You're going to save a forest by the end of the night.
I'm going to ask anyway. Now, if I haven't forgotten what I was going to ask. Is this just contingent on being in the lower water use? Or could we have somebody come in who's using 9,000
Income.
gallons a month and expect a 10-20% discount on that?
No.
Or is it only
Income.
for
Yeah,
the lower tier users?
would hope so.
We hope so, yeah. You know, and I think one of the samples we had was that they were qualifying for the lifeline, but they had 9 people living in there, and they were using a lot of water, and then everybody got the benefit of that. And so that I'm sure that's an anomaly, but it's not
Grandma
the rule of
qualified.
thumb, yeah. Mhm.
So are you thinking of having a cap on the amount that they're using along with this?
Well, I would say that we should look at that
Yeah.
as a cap, just as a
Yeah, figure
safeguard.
that anybody's going to look for that, it's going to be in a tier 1 anyway.
Well, and
Yeah.
it could be, we could do a discount off of tier 1 or and 1 and 2
Yeah.
consumption or something like that. Just
And
a portion of
we
it.
still have the accounts that are in Tier 1 and Tier 2.
Yeah.
There's 76 accounts in Tier 1, and there's 390 accounts in Tier 2, and then 190 in Tier 3.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we close 7. Come back to 8, comments, city council.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Tony?
The only thing that I had asked Chuck before, I would like to have a sheet of paper that shows us where the impact fees are, the parks, roads, stuff like that.
We just were, when we were busy with all of this stuff, and S&P wanted that information, and we regurgitated it, and the auditors, and I didn't have it printed out in time for that, but I have it up to date and stuff like that, yeah, and I'll bring that forward. Because that was one of the things in our audit that affects our general reserves that we've been socking away for the pellet plant, you know.
Anything else?
That's it.
Jim?
No.
Rick?
Yeah. Midway through the meeting, I sat here and I saw there was a fellow sitting behind the camera person with a dog. And I didn't see a sweater or identification on it that it was a service animal. Pardon me?
It had a vest on. I don't
It
know
did
if
have a
it
vest?
did.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, I'm good. Roger?
No, I think that.
No? Okay. Who's first?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight.
Good job.